Once you get past the idea of how terrifying public speaking can be, even when you're doing it virtually as we do in this class, and once you begin to understand some of the basics and how to prepare content, how to do some research, and then some of the basics on vocalics about how to use your voice, your literal voice, the real secret to getting better at public speaking is to find yourself, find your authentic voice. And when I'm talking about voice here, I'm talking about not voice in the literal sense, but voice in trying to convey who you are as part of what you are presenting in content. And so what I want to do here is go through a really nice overview of what one author calls the 4 intents in being more authentic when it comes to public speaking. This comes from an article in the Harvard Business Review from 15 years ago, but it's no less relevant today. So this first idea is, or the first intent, is to have the intent to be open with your audience. And we've already had the conversation with Megan McCaleb in which she talks about being vulnerable. This is a very similar kind of thing. Let your audience see a little bit of who you are. Now, this does not mean breaking down or losing control, or you want to maintain a certain level of dignity and a certain level of professionalism. On the other hand, we all know that when we feel emotion from a speaker, when we have a sense that they are giving us an idea of who they really are, by itself, without any of the actual words, that begins to have an effect on the audience. That makes the audience want to listen more carefully and understand what this speaker has to say, because there is a connection there, and that starts with opening yourself up and being a little vulnerable to a point. Okay, so the next intent is a little tricky, because in many cases when you are presenting for this class, or just as part of other school work or what you have to do in the workplace, all you want to do is get it over with. I just want to get this done and go do something else that isn't so terrifying. When you learn to work on connecting with your audience, and by which I mean, think about in casual, informal circumstances when you are talking to someone, whether it's one person or a group of people, and you really want to you have an important thing to say, and you want them to hear you and understand you. How do you feel? Try to invoke that kind of approach when you are trying to connect with your audience. Go beyond just thinking about what the words are and what is the message that you want to convey using your voice. And again, not the literal voice so much, although in this case it might include how you use your voice, but also how you are conveying it. And even on virtual connections like Zoom, a little bit of body language, a little bit of facial expression, even the use of your hands. I think too often students are afraid to use their hands, or afraid to, even move around. They just want to, stay focused, which is fine, but that's not really being who you are. So let a little bit of yourself come through in trying to make that connection with the people you're speaking to. One of the reasons why I don't give you specific topics for these assignments is that I want you to pick something that you feel passionate about, that you have a deep connection to. I think a lot of times students pick things that they know about. They don't have to do quite as much research because they've already got a lot of the information, but it may be something about which they're not necessarily passionate. Try to find a subject that you have feelings about, that you feel strongly about. Try to find something that you care about and let that guide you in doing the research and putting the content together. If you have chosen something and you're just not feeling it, I recommend picking something else. So when we are speaking face to face, standing in front of an audience, even if it's 4 people or if it's 40 or 400 or 4,000, it's very easy to pick up vibes from the audience, right? You can sense if they're with you, you can see their body language, you can hear if there's a buzz in the room at all. It's a little bit more difficult when we're doing this virtually because you're seeing a collection of images as opposed to being there in real life. Still, put yourself in the place of the audience as you are doing your prep work, as you are thinking about your topic, and then connect with them using all the tools that you can, even though it's a virtual environment. That means doing what I'm doing right here, creating the illusion of eye contact by looking into the camera. That helps connect you to the audience and helps you get a sense of where they're at. Now, there are times when you want to look down at your screen and just get a feel for how's this going? How am I being received? If it's not 100%, don't panic. But you want to still, even though you're doing this, and more we do this in the virtual world, listen to your audience, think about how they're receiving you, and put yourself in their place as much as you possibly can. So think about these 4 intents as you now prepare your final presentations for this class, and go beyond some of the basics, go beyond some of the putting the content together, writing the outline, doing the research, all good, all essential, all important. Once you have some practice using the vocalics that we've talked about in other lessons, now think about these 4 intents and try to apply them the best you can as you begin to rehearse for these final presentations.